Great to have your company on the Track Talk special as we have a look at our two big international races on Sunday. And we're down to the Singapore Airlines International Cup worth $3 million, featuring two previous winners in Dan Excel and also Military Attack. And of course, last year it was Dan Excel, but not only do we have last year's winner, we have last year's runner-up as well in Smoking Sun, who'll wear saddlecloth number 4. And we also have the third place getter in Military Attack. So it's a nice lineup here for our premier race of the season. Locally, we saddle up the likes of Step It Up, and even Wild Geese has been in very good form. Wasn't beaten far in the QE2 Cup last time out. So that's the race card. And we're going to start our look at the runners, and the first of the international runners we're looking at is the winner from 2013, when trained by John Moore. Of course, now Gareth is trained by Casper Founds.
Yeah, well, he's got a wonderful record here, Military Attack. He's getting on a bit, this guy, but he's done nothing wrong for connections. Lovely individual. He looks very well, but he's going to have to lift a little bit for me.
Wasn't a bad run. I mean, just a little bit more improvement, and he runs top 4 in this. Yeah. Smoking Sun gets a long way back, as we saw from him last year. But, you know, it wasn't a bad run, Larry, was it? He was right in the mix, and he was under a bit of a fitness cloud going into this.
He was, but obviously he was right to run. Otherwise, they wouldn't have run him. He's always going to. He's too good not to run a good race, but that Hong Kong form's going to hold up here. And I dare suggest that he's going to run well. It'll just be interesting to see if the others are a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, that was just his second run back from a break, so over 2,000 metres, he was probably entitled to get a bit tired. So, interesting runner. Speaking of terrific runners from Hong Kong, well, Dan Excel, he's going for back-to-back. We haven't seen too much in the way of track work from Military Attack. What about Dan Excel?
Yeah, he's really working well. This was on Thursday morning. I'm very happy with this piece of work. He looks fit, he looks well. He's got a bright eye on him, this guy, and I love the way he moves to post. If there was ever a horse to go back-to-back, it could just be him.
And this run is the reason he's here, I think. He had an interesting year after his win, but well documented. Went to Australia and had issues. Never got to the track, I don't think. And so back in Hong Kong, this run booked his ticket if it wasn't booked already. But this was super. He's probably a couple in front when we hit the straight as far as this run's concerned in Kranji.
Yes, we never did have that run in Australia, as you mentioned, Larry. He's actually only had 4 runs since he won this race last year. John Moore, he's had a terrific run in recent years in Singapore, and at the barrier draw, I caught up with him and asked about Dan Excel. John Moore, Dan Excel, your reaction to gate number 10?
Not a problem in my opinion. It would have been nice to draw on the inside and have the cushy run like he had last season, but yeah, well, maybe not last season, last Cup. We all know he's got gate speed. He led up the Champions Mile the other day in Hong Kong and did it quite easy getting there. And of course, Abel French, just an extraordinary horse, went past him like it was a different class. But Tommy reported when he came in that he'll be peaking on the day. So from that point of view, gate draw, not that important. Speed outside him, he'll go across, no doubt, with Wild Geese, probably even hit the front after the first 400 metres, and then they'll all sort themselves out, and I could see him being in the first 4 and having a nice cushy run.
So the reports are positive. Has he fully got over the problems he had in Australia?
Well, what I'm seeing back at the stable in Hong Kong, and his runs leading into this race, and what I saw this morning, his gallop this morning, his coat colour, he's a very sound horse. He's a Trojan, and how he's eating up so much better than last year Cup. I'm very confident he's going to run a big race.
We had the disco ball or something on there. There's quite a few different shades of colour across John's face, but I must admit he did a fantastic job to speak with us, because I think I was the last in a line of about 20 people who wanted to speak with him, and he was fantastic, John. So we thank him for his time there and giving a really positive report about Dan Excel. It was nice to see him with his terrific track work on Thursday morning.
Didn't recognise him without his safari suit.
Well, I did, but I know where you're coming from. And don't be surprised if we're interviewing him again in 2015, John Moore. It would be lovely if the Japanese were able to go home victorious from the Cup this year, and they're represented by a horse called Minor Frost. Now, I was talking to a few smarties, a few gurus on the form from Japan, and they're telling me the form around this horse has worked out exceptionally well.
Well, konnichiwa to him and all of the visitors that are coming with him. As you can see, fully color-coded. Very interesting with what they did with this guy. They walked him in the full turf track. He's had a look at the parade ring and grandstand, and I liked his work. He was looking around a bit though, Larry.
He was looking around early, but got his head. I mean, come race day, you'll get the genuine article, you presume. And Japanese form just holds up, and we know it does.
7th in a St Leger over 3,000 metres. He ran 3rd in the Japan Derby. He's coming off a win last time out. That was his 4th run of the year, so he's had a nice preparation. He'll be rock hard fit. He's done plenty of track work, and we know Japan form is good.
If I can just say, my only concern is he really needs to be on the pace in a winning position when they turn for home, because they can all place coming from the back, but it's very hard to win. We saw it with Previous and really good horses in the past. That's why Dan Excel is almost a safer option and probably starts favourite, given he'll look the winner. You know, 300 out.
To put himself in the race is what you say.
Yeah.
That horse, Minor Frost. Well, Johnny Guitar is another who has been a nice horse over a period of time in Singapore. To be honest with you, I'd be shocked if he won the race, but he's drawn well.
He deserves a run out of the locals, I think. He's just been so game and consistent, and it's nice for Fred to have another runner, but I think it's just too deep. I think he's been thrown in the deep end, and I think he made his battle.
The value of Hughesy would go up if he did win, because Hughesy looks like a nice horse. I don't mind Johnny Guitar and the fact that he got found out at 2000. It's a year later. You know, he's won over the mile. I think he'll run an honest race.
He ran this race last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
He ran 9th, I think.
Yeah, and Pat Shaw had reasonable raps on him as far as like the best from his stable and a chance. He didn't run up to it. Pat's rethought it, put him back to the mile, etc. You know, that's his looks his caper. But again, we saw with Dan Excel, he was a mile horse, but this race is, you know, maybe not a 2,000 metre race.
The year that Lazar ran 4th in the Cup for Pat Shaw, he dropped him back and ran in that Admiralty Classic Stakes, the same race that we just saw there, and Lazar was able to win that. So it has been something that Pat's used in the past, but I think just a little bit of a class question mark on him. Yeah. But he's gallant and game, and he's in with a chance. Speaking of gallant and game, well, step it up. What a terrific horse. I think we're down to have a look at his track work now, and he's working with a sprinter, Hooker Falls.
Yeah, Hooker Falls is no slouch on the training tracks, and step it up. Larry spoke to him, very happy with him, and I think his last win is just it's a phenomenal victory, considering he couldn't get a run late, and I was very happy with it.
Well, you know, we've been following him for ages, haven't we, Larry? And how many poor runs did he have in big races? And finally he got one where he'd done no work, and he knew that there was going to be a response late on. Was he going to get a run? Eventually he did, and he won, which was great to see.
He's had wide gates, he's had bad runs throughout, and he never puts in a bad run. And it was probably a brave move by the owners as far as, but Laurie looks like he's got a perfect preparation this time in. A couple of runs over shorter distances, a win over 2,000 metres. He's cherry ripe for this, and as we mentioned, the stable couldn't be happier.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we just had a look at that replay, and it was Keshwa who was close up, a couple of others there. Corey Brown is going to be the rider of Keshwa. Corey, of course, had a great success in the Longines Singapore Gold Cup on this horse, and he's going to ride Keshwa in the big race on Sunday. Corey Brown, your reaction to the barrier draw for Keshwa?
I was happy enough, Matt. I said when I walked in I'd like to draw between 2 and sort of 5. He's ended up with 7, but it's great now that the speed's drawn out quite wide, so it makes for good tempo in the race. And look, I'm happy with where he's at. His last couple of starts he's been unlucky, not desperately unlucky, but just little things go wrong, and he's beaten by small margins. Look, he's a tradesman, he's tough. I know he'll be there when the whips are cracking, and it should make for a good race.
How does he need the race to be run if he's to win it?
Oh, look, I know in the Gold Cup he had no weight, and I drew an awkward sort of gate, so I went forward on him. I don't really think that's 100% way to ride the horse. Ideally, I'd love to ride him 3 pairs back, 1 off, and then sort of give him something to chase, because he seems a real tough horse. Once there's a bunny out in front, he chases the bunny and he pins the ears back. So in the last couple of starts, he's been getting there too soon. So I think from the barrier 7 with the speed drawn out wide, I'd love to land 1-1, or even running 5th or 6th behind the speed. That'd be ideal, and I think they will string out with the speed drawn out wide. That's how I sort of look at it at this stage. Obviously, I'll look at it a lot more before Sunday eventuates, but yeah, ideally I'd love to be running sort of between 4th and 6th, be ideal.
Thanks to Corey Brown joining us at the barrier draw. Interesting what he had to say about the horse. That you know, with something to chase, he perhaps races at his best.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's rock hard. You know, he's going to see the trip. But again, I'd like to see him racing as hand as he can. You know, if a horse can follow Dan Excel into the race and just peel off him at the right time, could be the horse to beat in running.
Well, he had no weight on his back when he won the Gold Cup. Not the case here. He's going to have to carry 57, but one of our better local hopes is Keshwa. And I suppose racing under the local banner these days is Kuptado, under the Singapore banner, I think.
Well, he is. He was the first of the internationals to arrive. He will stay with Pat Shaw. First run as a gelding. His work has been fast, a lot of fast work put into this horse, and this was on Tuesday morning. Byron Forster put him through his paces, and this for me is a bit of an unknown quantity because his run last time out in Dubai, I think the 2 miles just too far for him.
But just the reason why he's with the internationals is he's stayed in quarantine,
Yes.
but he's definitely with Pat Shaw's stable. Interesting runner here from France, Freeport Lux for Freddie Head.
Yeah, I was listening to Freddie Head talk about the reason why he thought this would be a good race for Freeport Lux, and I think he drew comparisons between Smoking Sun and this horse, and he thought, well, I can compete with Smoking Sun, and Smoking Sun's been able to compete in Singapore, so why not have a crack? Well, the two horses are going to reoppose in this race here. And I think he should run well. Like Group 1, yet to be proven, but he's got some good group form, and the French form is stacked up in the past.
Well, he's one of the few horses, if it could be the only horse that's running the Arc de Triomphe from come here.
Yeah.
Now he ran second last in that, but it's a big ask, and 2, it's a bit longer. So he thinks 2,000 metres is its caper. The race suits. It's first run out of France. Bit of an unknown for mine, but an astute trainer and ex-jockey, and I'd be keeping an eye on him.
Yeah, I think he's going to run very well. And we've seen some good performers from France in recent years, including Smoking Sun, who ran so well. We haven't really touched on him too much, but he was in that replay with Military Attack, Smoking Sun, but he ran a cracking race last year to run second, so he's back again.
There's a few, it's a really open race this year, so I'll be looking at the locals. Quite often you can put a line through most of the locals, and if you want to play a quartet or something, you can juggle around the banker a few of the internationals, but not this year. They're going to be a really good race.
What's it going to be, Larry?
Japan for mine. But they've won it twice before, and I'm thinking they can win it again. Minor Frost for mine. To beat last year's winner, Dan Excel. As mentioned, there's a few caveats on my pick, that he's got to be right there with Dan Excel when things get busy, but Step It Up and Quechar to keep it very interesting.
Okay, so a few of the locals in. I've gone 3 Minor Frost. I'm with you, Larry. Dan Excel. I put in this Freeport Lux. I think it's going to run a big race, and Military Attack. 3, 2, 9 and 1.
Dan Excel on top for me. Step It Up, Military Attack, Minor Frost. Really looking forward to the big one on Sunday.
Yeah, 2 terrific races, about an hour of absolute magic here, as good as it's going to get for 2015. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Larry, as always, stepping in and helping us out on our biggest week of the year. Thank you.
I've enjoyed it, always do, and I just can't wait for Sunday.
Okay, and even better, Sunday night.
And it's going to be a pleasure working with Gareth for the first time. He follows some illustrious company with Frosty and our Dubai friend.
Ted Sadler. We wish him well. Thanks, Gareth.
Pleasure.
Enjoy your first big international day.
Can't wait for it.
And we hope you enjoy your international day wherever you may be watching. If you're in Singapore, get trackside, and we look forward to bringing you the coverage. That's it for the international special. Goodbye.